Well, howdy there, folks. This is your host, ID Jester. Thanks for checking out my video looking at Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit S14, Scenario 14, 88s at Zon with our super enhanced Squad Leader Starter Kit rules with snipers, heat-a-bow, concealment, and bypass movement. Hopefully, you checked out our previous episode where we looked at the German setup. We're going to look at the American setup here. I decided not to do this in a live stream because there's a lot of talking and just strategy and rules and stuff like that ahead of time. So no sense in doing a live stream on that. So hopefully you'll understand and see what we're doing in the Americans here. So kind of switching modes here to become the American player and think about what we want to do. So as the Americans, you can see we have what is this, about 3 or 4 hexes deep into the map board where the Germans can't sit up too close to us. So we should be able to hopefully get to some interesting and good terrain. We do have superior firepower with 747s coming on the board, elite units. Nice morale. They're not going to ELR, and the firepower, just a couple of these units, 2 units in 1 hex is going to be 14 firepower. So we're going to be able to shoot on the 12 column pretty easily. We're going to be going up against the Germans probably in, if I just take off the units here, probably a lot of Germans are going to be hiding in these stone buildings. So they're going to get that +3 TEM, which we're not happy about, but nothing we can do. So we're going to use our superior firepower and our awesome morale. The fact that we won't ELR, we'll have these units pretty much throughout the game, these elite units. We do have some advantages, though, that the German player does not have, in that because we're using starter kit rules, we won't ELR. And also, we have some bazookas. So each different team here, the green team over here has 2 bazookas, and 1 bazooka over here in the pink group. So if the Germans do decide to hang out in these buildings, hopefully we can do some damage with them with a couple of our bazooka shots. So we can root them out of these buildings, but we don't have a lot of time to sit there and shoot. We only have 5.5 turns to get all the way across the map board. But because we are getting that bypass movement, which normally is not included in starter kit rules, but it is going to be included because of our enhanced version that we're working on, we are going to be able to bypass some and be able to move up hopefully a little bit faster. We do have to worry about the German hidden guns. Fortunately for us, there's not a lot of great places the American can hide them. So, we should be able to either bypass them if we just kind of mow through this, I don't know, little village over here on the west side. There's not a lot of terrain he can hide his guns in over here. We can fight house to house, use our superior morale and our firepower and close combat and take out his units pretty quickly. If we can break through that side off, we have a pretty clear line of sight down to the exit, as long as he doesn't have any of the guns set up back here. So I'm thinking, again, just using our superior firepower and our higher morale, and basically just be able to just spread our units out. He doesn't have a lot of units to defensive fire, so if we just have units in every different hex out here, sure, he can defensive fire 1 or 2 of them. Our high morale should be able to resist some of his attacks, and then we'll just kind of swarm them with all of our superior firepower. The eastern side over here is going to be a little bit more challenging because it's a little bit more open. We do have this hill we can use to our advantage. We can get some units positioned so we can view and see what's out there, and then maybe get some units in the little gully here. He won't be able to shoot at us. And then, of course, close combat and take them out that way as well. We don't know what's out here because, he does get to start with all of his units concealed. We can kind of see where they're at. He doesn't have much hanging out back in the back. So if we can break through his units pretty quickly, we should have a pretty clear run to the back end. The hill, I think, is going to be the most dangerous spot because a lot of stone buildings and because of these orchard hexes. Probably, he's going to have maybe one or maybe both of his guns up there. So I don't know if we're going to push through the hill or kind of skirt along the edge of the hill, hoping to keep out of line of sight unless the units are on the edge. If we could get some kind of a, I'm thinking about bringing this medium machine gun. If we can position it here, it should be able to take care of anybody on the top of the hill over here. Also have line of sight down in the valley, down below over on this side. So I think this is going to be a key building for us as the Americans, trying to get that medium machine gun up here as soon as possible. Unfortunately, we don't start off with units. It's going to be hard to get them here. So we'll have to maybe reposition a couple of these units around. I haven't finalized our setup here. Again, I'm kind of just keeping everybody right here on the front of the map board. Yeah, this medium machine gun is going to take a little bit of work to get it to where we need it to go. But because we do have the bypass movement, it might be a little bit easier than slugging it through the woods here. We'll have to move it in the woods, and then we can maybe bypass this wood hex and possibly advance up into this spot. But like I said, I'm just as the American player thinking this is going to be a great position for us. Assuming the 88's not sitting right here, it's going to blast at us. Very close range, that would be kind of a bad thing. But, we can use some of these units to come up here and maybe secure the area before we bring up our medium machine gun there. I don't see that he's going to have much in the way of keeping us out of that building. And the firepower on this thing is 4 firepower, plus our squad is 7. So that's 11. So just can't quite get to that 12 marker that we need to get to. So unfortunately, 14. I'm just trying to think if we need to add in more units. We could use our leader with it. That would be good. We have some, unlike the German player, we have some very good leaders. A 9-2, a 9-1, and an 8-1. So even if our units are caught running out in the open and getting defensive fired on, hopefully with our good leaders, we'll be able to rally those units pretty quickly. And again, we're probably going to be moving not in stacks. We're going to individually move units, again, into different areas, kind of swarming tactics, I guess. A lot of attackers, kind of that's a lot of the good strategy to use, is just put units in a whole bunch of different locations so that the defender has to pick and choose which location to shoot at. Obviously, if we were to just move a big stack like this and he defensive fires on us, he could do some very serious damage. So I'm thinking trying to get our machine gun up into this position here. We'd be able to see anything on the hill, also see down in the valley, bring our other units, possibly bring them up into this location here. See if we can route out where those 88s are. Once we push him back, get some of his units broken, at that point I don't see him being able to stop us. We will see, though. It's going to be a challenge. We only have five, like I said, 5.5 scenarios, or 5.5 turns of the scenario. So if you just look at it, here's one, here's two movements, here's three movements, and four movements to get off. So basically, you only have maybe a turn, maybe two turns that we can delay each of these units if we want to get them off. So we do have to push forward. We have to push forward as fast as we can, but I think that bypass movement is going to help us. We'll get our sniper counter out here once we get the finalized setup of our scenario between the Germans and the Americans, and should be a great time to kind of analyze how these rules are going to play out. So again, we're going to be using sniper rules. We're going to be using heat of battle. We're going to be using concealment, which you can see with the Germans. We have no idea what his units are. We can see there's a stack of units here. We can see there's only one here, a couple units here, one here, a couple units here, and a couple back here in the back. And of course, there's a couple guns set up somewhere out there. We might be able to just find him if he's got them out in the open. We might be able to see him. It might be too late though, because if we bring a unit here, 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 and then we come to here, you might have one over here, which we can't see because of the building. So once we come out in the open, he'll have to reveal it. But by then it might be too late, and we might take us a pretty devastating attack. But hopefully we won't have to worry too much about that. Again, as long as we don't stack our units up, we can have adjacent fire groups. There's advantages and disadvantages of that. If I had units here, 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 like this, we could use all of our firepower. If he's defensive firing, he's only going to be able to shoot one of these units. The disadvantages, we're not using our leader firepower to its full extent because we're not getting the bonus on fire groups from multiple hexes. So there are advantages to stacking everything up and disadvantages to stacking everything up. We'll see how this scenario plays out. It's hard to say right off the beginning. I would like to get, maybe even bring a unit. Crops are in season, orchards are in season because it is, if we look at our scenario card here, it is September, I believe. Yeah, September. So crops are in season, orchards are in season. So we could use that to our advantage because if we bring a unit this way, if he's going to defensive fire on us, he's going to be shooting through the orchard. Unfortunately, most of his units are on the hills, so he wouldn't get any penalty for shooting through that. So that might not work out as good as I was hoping. I was kind of hoping to get a unit over here so I could see over here in this area, see if we can find out where these 88s are hiding. Obviously, if they're in the woods here, all half boards are on the board, so these could be positioned on the map board there. Could use Zeus spots. If he does use Zeus spots, we could just kind of use these units to come through the middle or maybe even loop around. There's lots of advantages. I think, though, it's as long as we get some lucky rolls and we can stay away from getting too many 88 shots at point blank range and our units out in the open, we should be okay. It's just a matter of getting down there in 5.5 turns. That's my biggest worry, is getting bogged down in a fight that we don't need to fight. We need to have them shoot and move, move these guys as fast as we can. So besides that, I think it's going to be a really interesting scenario. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any tips, suggestions, thoughts, comments, whatever, let me know in the comments below. I'll be able to read it before we get things finalized for our first adventure in the 88s at Zon. And I think pretty much that'll bring this episode to a close here. So I think it'll be a fun scenario to try out. I think it'll be a challenge for both sides. It'll be a challenge for me to try and remember all of the rules that we're using with the bypass and the concealment and the sniper rules and everything else. So it'll definitely be a challenge. So you guys will have to keep me on my toes if I miss something, if I forget something, if I forget to adjust something. So if you have any thoughts for me or suggestions, leave a comment below, and we will see you guys in the next episode where we actually will get to start playing 88's at Zon. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.